What's up, guys? QahirTheConqueror here. Welcome back to my channel for another video. In this video, we are going to talk about how you can get your power back. First of all, you will get your power back in life. You will become a version close to your best self if you do this. When everything kind of changed for me in my life, personally, it was once I realized that I was holding myself back. I realized that at times, often, I can be my worst enemy, my own worst enemy. I can be my biggest critic. I can be my biggest obstacle in the way of my goals. And before that realization kicked in for me, it was very easy to deduce blame on any and everything else, for the most part, except me. I've always been somebody who was self-aware and things like that, and cognizant of my own actions and, how you can contribute to certain things, but it takes even more growth and it takes a lot of digging deep to realize how much you and I hold ourselves back and hurt ourselves with this frame of thinking. First of all, we are powerful beings. We are capable of doing whatever it is that we want to do if we put our mind to it and we put in just a little bit of effort. A lot of effort, just imagine. A little bit of effort, just imagine. You have control over everything that you can control. The things you cannot control, obviously you have no control over it. So it shouldn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. All right, now let me break down what I meant when I said I, and also you, we, us, our own biggest obstacles. You've seen it before, probably on social media, heard somebody talk about it, but I'm just going to try to break it down very simply. It's so easy to blame external sources for our own detriment, for our own problems, for the things that bother us, plague us, affect us mentally. But when you do that, when you look outside instead of inside, after something goes wrong and something happens to you, you are weakening yourself to a degree, and you're hurting yourself. You're hurting your growth. You're hurting a spirit in you that is there to fix these issues and resolve these situations. What do I mean with all of this? When you blame something or somebody else, even if they were the sole culprit, you are giving that person, entity, situation, circumstance, power over you. They have control over you. You are putting them, it, whatever, above you, and you are diminishing yourself to that. Let me give an example. Commonly, both genders, talking about just strictly male and female here, men and women, when we think of like our relationship woes, let's say there's a person who does not have the best history with picking a partner. They've had partners that have done wrong to them routinely, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What options can they take when it comes to thinking about those relationship woes? Either he or she, whatever, your choice is, they did this, they did this, they did this, they did this, and this is why they. You never heard I. Think about when you talk to people, your friends, when they tell you about the problems that are going on within their relationships, their relationship woes. Do you ever hear them sit back and say, well, I did this and that made them feel this way, and then this is probably why they did that. But then when they did that, it really bothered me and it made me feel sad. It made me feel bad. You don't hear that. You just hear finger pointing verbally. We're verbally pointing fingers at people. They did this, they did that. Even if a partner, and this is a terrible thing, cheats on you, number one, there's always multiple sides to every story. Number two, we play a hand in what happens to us. Even if you cannot control, which you cannot, the actions of your partner when you're not around and in their presence, you can control how you react. You can control the person that you put on that pedestal. You can control who that person is. You might not be able to control if they remain faithful and loyal to you. But if they don't, then we have to first look within and analyze what attracted us to a person that is capable of doing such things. Could we have seen it coming? Were there any red flags? Were there any alarming things that would have caught me to pay attention and maybe be a little more cautious? Or, you know what I mean? Like, that is the first step I think that we should take when it comes to analyzing what goes wrong at the hands of somebody else. See, in that example I just gave, the person, yes, that may hurt. The person may feel bad. They may feel upset. A range of emotions, an array of emotions might come from that. But you relinquish the power you have when you blame that person and you take no accountability, keyword, stay tuned, for what happened. See, if you take this approach, the accountable approach, okay, dang, I'm hurt by that. That hurts. That's not an easy thing to just shrug off if you were in a serious connection with somebody. Well, first of all, that person broke a boundary. They wronged me. And it's not something that I can just sweep under the rug. I'm going to take my power back and I'm going to create another boundary, remove this person from my life, or these are the consequences for that. You get the point? Now we're taking proactive steps on getting our power back and not giving that power to somebody else. So now we're in their control. Oh my God, you cheated on me. You even love me. You sound powerless. Oh, they cheated on me? Okay, well, I don't see myself as such a low being that I would settle and accept this kind of behavior from somebody who claimed to love me or something like that. So that's just one example I want to give. You have power, and we can use that power to overcome examples of adversity, like I'm saying now. But oftentimes we don't, because it's easier to complain. It's easier to bemoan. It's easier to hold a grudge. It's easier to just point blame and not accept whatever level, no matter how dismal, how small, the role that we played into situations that can affect us like that. See, whatever the situation is, I could give a million examples, but I'm not going to waste my time in this video giving examples. Whatever happens to us, we play a role, we contribute to that. If you do not apply yourself fully in school, that reflects in your grades, your academic portfolio, things like that. We can blame our parents for not being Harvard graduates. We can blame the teachers for not caring. We can blame our friends for distracting us in class. But what did you do, or what could you have done to try to do more? You get the point. See, we have to hold ourselves accountable. I wouldn't say first, because that's a process. Whatever step you get to the accountability, as long as you get there, I encourage you to try to get there. But at some point, you have to get there. When we're young, it's natural because you don't have the depth to be able to always be accountable. A 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old, even a 20-year-old, it takes time to sit back and to take a look inward and go, you know what? This is the role that I played in contributing to whatever that situation is. In some way, shape, or form, I may have enabled it. I may have turned a blind eye. I may have done something that if I was a little more cognizant and a little more aware, I could have potentially seen this coming. I'm not saying that if you start trying to hold yourself accountable, you're going to see everything before it happens and be able to break a situation down. I'm not saying that. Stuff is still going to happen. We're still going to have our ups and downs. That's a part of life. But you don't want to eventually become so powerless to the situations that perturb you that you just relinquish the power that we have inside to invoke change, to better ourselves, to create boundaries and distance and love ourselves and show self-respect, self-worth. When you give that up to something, somebody else, or anything else, you are diminishing your worth, your value, you're lessening yourself. And if you do this or have done this, I'm a victim of this myself. And this is a process of purging. It's not easy. So I don't want to make you feel bad, but you have to realize the first step of growth is taking accountability and realizing at a certain point, and it takes age, it takes wisdom, experience, maturity. But when you get there, realizing that we have a role to play in the situations that can affect us in various ways. I have recently realized that it was so much easier for me to just throw that blame and cast it off on somebody else. And then in doing so, I excuse myself of any accountability. And then I can solely make them or it or whatever that situation is, I can make that the villain and I can make myself the victim. Well, the problem with that is this isn't Marvel. This isn't a world where the Avengers exist or we have superheroes. There's, in many cases or in most cases, more often than not, nobody coming to save you. You have to be your own superhero. You have to save yourself. So you cannot be a damsel in distress all the time and expect yourself to grow or expect that to benefit you in some way. You have to realize, we have to realize, I have to realize, well, yeah, that may have happened, that may have sucked, but dang, I low-key had something to do with that. I could have done this right. I could have done this right, better, different. Or, you know what? From now on, I'm going to be better, so I don't even have to deal with that anymore. That is how you get your power. That is how you grow. That is how you mature. That is how you become more well-rounded. That is how you forego blame and things like that. And that can turn your heart bitter. That can mess with your perception of reality. That can affect you in so many ways, all because you avoid the process that is natural. See, the subconscious that we have, that thinking mind that we have, that self-critical mind that we have, that a lot of people ignore, that voice in the back of your head that knows better, that we ignore and that we dismiss because whatever is coming to the forefront of our mind makes us uncomfortable. Comfort, accountability, they don't go hand in hand. In fact, they probably would be ops or rivals if those two things were personified into real beings. The process of taking accountability is not going to be something that you can do without really looking inward and looking within you, but it's so worth it. Why is it worth it? Because once you take accountability, you realize that if you didn't at the time know better, once you know better, now the choice lies on you to do better, to act better, to think better, to live better. Better is the key word. Accountability and better, those are words that can help propel you further. But when you just blame, ignore and dismiss that inner voice in our spirit, our mind, and our heart, you're not doing yourself any favors. You are doing whatever the situation is or the person that hurt you a favor by hurting yourself and propping them up to make them seem like if they're a human being just like you, why are they more powerful just because they might have done something wrong or bad to you? Have we never done anything wrong or bad to somebody? Did we own up and take accountability off the strength? How often do people do that? So, to give a long story short and to summarize this video, you just want to realize that you cannot control all of the things that suck that may happen to you. But we can control a few things. We can control, number one, how we react. We can control, number two, what are we going to do about that in the future moving forward. Number three, we can control if we even ever get into situations like that again.